So today, the DS Incubator aims to follow up on this idea of publishing a website. I feel that last time I kind of left you in an incomplete state because we walked through the process to building a website, in particular a blog, but then I didn't really give you tools to publish your website. And so I think that GitHub is a great place to do that because a lot of our code is already there and it's fairly straightforward to build a simple website. So I want to kind of walk through that together and then kind of show you how a more complex website could also be built on GitHub. And we're going to try again the blog. Not sure about how much time we will have to actually complete the publishing of the blog, but certainly we will be having time to publish a basic website that you can extend to, for example, create your own CV or something like that. So as usual, can you confirm thumbs up if you're looking at my screen? You should be reading the link to the. Yes, cool. Okay, so if you are there, then I think you have everything we need. The first thing I am gonna do is I'm gonna pop up this window that where I have it's a kind of a demo GitHub account. Because the first thing we're gonna do is to create a site for a repository. And the second thing we're going to do is to create a site for our entire user account, which is a good place to kind of, publish a website about you. Or the same ideas apply to a website for an organization. So it's a good place to publish, for example, a blog for the entire organization, which is what we are doing with the 2 Degrees blog. So the information that kind of explains what we are going to do is on the GitHub pages website. So if you click on this link, you will have basically a walk through the process. I may do it a little different, but basically if you want to revisit what we covered today, that link will take you to precise instructions that you can follow to redo what we are doing today. So the first thing, I'm gonna do first a little demo and then give you time to do it yourself. It's pretty straightforward. The first thing we're gonna do is we go to to create a new repo, which you can create just by clicking create repository. I'm creating it under an account that is called Mauro-Lepore, and here I'm gonna say something like CV. So let's say that this repository will host my CV. And that's all I need, really. I'm going to make sure that the repo is public, but even if it's private, the website will always be public. So you have to be careful about that. And I'm going to hit on create repository.
Are you making a new repository on a different screen?
Ah, okay. So maybe thanks for that. I was expecting. I'm going to stop sharing and reshare the whole desktop because maybe that was my mistake. Sorry. So share desktop 1. Can you see now my window split in half? On the right, you should be seeing GitHub. Yes, perfect. So, okay, so let's do that once again. For you, I mean, nothing really outstanding. Basically, you just create a new repo. So I call it CV now because I already have that repo. I'm going to call it resume. Resume. That's going to be my new repo. I make sure that it's public. Click create repository. And that's just about it. Now I need to just navigate to settings and an area that is called GitHub pages. So if you go here to let me kind of make this a little bigger. Well, actually it didn't work. I'm gonna make it smaller. You should see here settings. We might have done this in a different incubator before. You scroll down, so settings, and then you go to the area where it says GitHub pages. If you just there hit in choose a theme, you are presented with this page where you can choose kind of the theme that more or less appeals to you. I kind of like the simple one, so I'm going to click minimal and I click select theme. I'm going to give you a few minutes after this for you to do it yourself, so don't worry too much about following along. And you can already see that this has auto-populated with a bunch of information here, which actually information that you get here is pretty useful, so maybe don't delete it. It is basically information that explains what is GitHub Pages and how you can change the theme and things like that. So that might be a good reminder. But more usefully, you could put information that is useful to you. So for example, I have, let's see, I think I have here some information about me. So, you know, my suggestion would be that something like this could be useful for you to host your CV. So I'm going to copy some text that I have already in a different website, and I'm going to paste it just here. This is no more and no less than just a file called index, and the extension is MD, an MD file. So basically, if you are already used to writing out MD files, markdown files, you already know how to you know, create a first heading, how to create a link and things like that. And if you don't, there is lots of information on the online about how to work with R Markdown. So I just added this information here, and I'm gonna call this, say, about me. And then there was more information here. I'm gonna call that how GitHub Pages work. And that's it. I'm going to scroll down the page, and I have to create a commit. I'm on GitHub, so remember everything that you save on GitHub is like a commit, right? So you can already see that the front page of your repo includes the information that I pasted. That's nothing kind of too exciting yet. And under my, you know, what I added, I get the information that I get by default. With, again, you know, will remind you how to do this. But what it is interesting is that now I can go to a specific address and see that website published. So let's see the format of where that repo will be is explained here. So basically, it is your username, which is in this case, is this one, and then .github.io, and then slash and the name of the repo that you just created. So if you go to that address, right, so your username .github.io, then you see your website published with the theme that you chose. Which I think is pretty cool because with so little effort, we already have a website. And so that's actually how I have been hosting my CV for the last couple of years, except now that I learned more about blogging. So I created my CV in the About Me section of my blog. So let's stop for a moment and give you time to work on this. And as usual, you can ask questions as they arise on the document, or you can say them here, and I will try my best to capture them in the document later. At the end of the document, you have the section questions. So let's give a few minutes for that, maybe 5 minutes. Five minutes for this should be good. If you finish early, please hit yes. And if you finish early, actually, you may want to go ahead and try to do that for your entire username or your organization. The instructions are also in the same page that I pointed to you before, so here, and are also described in this second part where it says create a site for a user or organization. Basically, the trick for that, and we're gonna cover it later, hopefully, is that the repository has to have a very specific name. The name of the repository has to be your username followed by .github.io, and that will make the trick. So give it a go if you already did the first stage. But I would like to see a yes when you have finished the first stage, the one that I demoed right now. And you still have more, about 4 more minutes to go. In the meantime, I'm gonna see if there is any question that I can help people with. I know I have not done anything with my hair, and that's precisely the problem. I've done nothing. Usually I just cover it with my hat. With COVID, I'm avoiding going to the hairdresser, so it's a mess. It's a resource that many of us follow, guys. Yeah, hats and things. But my hat is now washing because I went surfing and I wore my hat to avoid getting too burned. But you still see my face a little bit. So because I see no more yeses, I'm going to kind of walk through what I did once again. Basically what I did is, I was at the account where I wanted to create a repo. I created a new repo in any way. You give it a name, ABC, whatever. The repo is public. I did not add a README or anything, although you could. And then I simply went to the settings area, scrolled down to GitHub pages, and there you can just choose a theme for your website. Now I'm going to choose a different theme, this green one, because we are green people. And there is a bunch of information that I could keep or I could remove. I could just say, hello world, scroll down, create a commit, and that's done. So the README file, the index.md file updates with information I added. And then if I navigate to the account, to the address that has my username followed by .github.io / the name of the repo, there is my repo published. That's how you can say it there. Sometimes, GitHub pages takes a little while to refresh, so that's not now showing the information that I want. It's showing the older information. So already I see 4 people doing it, and we're close to the time limit. So I think we can call it done, and I really welcome your questions on the doc. Again, I think that is an elegant way for hosting your CV or some information about you. But now, what if you want to do the same across your entire account or your organization? So same thing, I'm gonna do it one more time, but then we're gonna make it more complex by trying to host a blog, which has some tweaks that are not immediately obvious. So when you want to create a site for an entire user or an organization, the trick is that the repo name has to be your username followed by .github.io. And that's weird, but that's just the way it is. So in this case, the username is Mauro Lepore. So when I create a new repo, new repository, I have to call it exactly maurolepore.github.io. Let's see if this is working. I want to make this a little bigger because it's so freaking small. There you go. GitHub.io. And that will make the trick, right? So that's the my username .github.io. The format is also here. And now let's click create. So nothing new there, but now we are gonna make your life a little more complicated. It's kind of a little long, so I'm hoping that at least I'm gonna be able to kind of show it how it works, and then you can try it on your own. I'm not going to show nothing like too new. I'm gonna show how to create this to transform this into a blog. So what we need is, once you create the repo, you need this address that points to where the repo lives. So I'm gonna copy that address. And now I'm gonna be working on rstudio.cloud, which I encourage you to use that at least the first time, because I already have the packages installed that you will need for this. So I almost don't need GitHub anymore. So I just go to, actually, what I want to do is to click on that link. And only after I do that, okay, as you can see, it creates a temporary copy. You may already be familiar with this. And I'm going to be working off a temporary copy, but you can probably save a permanent copy if you want. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to tell Git who we are. This is something that if you have already set up your, if you want to do this locally, then that's fine. You probably have already set up Git. And there's two reasons for doing it on github.cloud. One is that it has already the packages that we need, so it will just work. And the second one is because the DS Incubator is also about kind of building on previous knowledge. So we have already kind of covered how to connect GitHub repos to an RStudio account, but we did it a long time ago, so we may have forgotten. So it's a good idea to use this as an excuse to redo that. So the first thing I need to do here is to tell Git who I am. The way you do that is you can go to the terminal, which RStudio now includes terminal since a while ago. So you can say git config, which is a file called config that Git stores somewhere. And we're going to give it global options. So you say -- global. That's a flag that Git understands to make this setting global. And we have to tell them what's our username. User.name is a parameter. And now we have to give it a value. So my username is Mauro Lepore. You can choose anything really. It's just the name that will display for every commit. And that's it. And then the second thing that I need to do is I can use the up arrow to recover the command that I typed before. And I'm going to change this a little bit because the second thing that I must do is to give it my user email. And now it's a little more tricky because it cannot be just anything. It has to be the email that is associated to your profile. So here you can see in the doc that I say, if you don't remember which email you gave to GitHub, in this page, you can see it is the one that you gave in your profile. So in this case, it is maurolepore.usa. It's kind of a weird email that I use for demos. And it's at gmail.com. So now Git knows who I am. So if I ask git config global, right? If I ask Git to give me what's the global user name, then it should know who I am. And if I ask what's the user email, then it knows my email. So with that, I expect things to work. So that was a little bit of a detour from the lesson today, but it's an important thing for you to be able to kind of refresh how to set up your RStudio environment so that Git knows who you are and you can push and pull from GitHub. And now the next step would be to clone the repo. So you can, remember we copied an address from GitHub. Let's see if it's here, where was it? This address, when you created the repo, you can copy it if you want. And now, there we go. We can give it to Git by saying git clone this repo. So git clone is the command, and now you can paste it there. On the terminal, it's funny, you have to press shift inst, and it will paste that link that you copied. Not sure if it works with the paste, maybe, if you do right click or something. But shift inst works. So I press enter, and it's cloning this repository. So now I'm gonna move this a little bit. Let's see, I think I see a notification here. That's not about this. So you can see that now my account includes this new folder because it cloned the repo. It's kind of boring because there is nothing in there, but that's fine because my repo on GitHub was empty, so it worked, right? So the next step is then to create a blog. And that's what you did last time with the package distill, remember? So we can copy that. And we are not going to work on the terminal. We're going to work on R because, distill is an R package. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create. So notice that I'm here on the parent directory of where my blog lives. So the folder that I cloned is under project, and that's here exactly where I am. I'm at project, not inside it. So I'm going to paste that command that I put in the doc, what I'm pasting in here is exactly what, or it should be exactly what you see. The name of the repo that you cloned. So in this case is, I'm going to change the quotation marks here too because they look odd. That might fail. So in my case is maurolepore.github.io. So I'm going to create the blog inside there, right? Which means that distill will put stuff inside this folder. So let's click in there. And now you see before it was empty and now it's no longer empty. So all the stuff that distill, all the magic that distill did is in there. So the next thing I want to do, so this is exactly what you did last time. So I'm hoping that with what you learned last time, you'll be able to do this. And now, I kind of wanted to cover this on a DS incubator because there are a couple of tricks that you need to do to make it work on GitHub Pages. GitHub Pages uses a framework that's called Jekyll. Doesn't really matter that much, but you do need to change that explicitly. So there is two things that you need to change. First, in the file that is called site or _site YAML, so you go to that file, this is one here, you want to change where it says output directory, instead of creating the site inside a folder called _site, you want it to create it at the root of your blog folder. So you say dot. Dot is kind of here, where it's like a referential way to refer to the root. And then, okay, let's save that file. And that's almost it, but not totally it. We also need to create a new file that will tell GitHub to not use the default framework called Jekyll. So do not use Jekyll. So that's the instruction that I say here. So the way we do that is we can go to File and New File, and we create a new text file. And we don't need to write anything in here. We only need to save it inside the folder of my blog. So make sure it's there. And you need to call it .no_Jekyll this way. This is arbitrary and it has to be exactly like that. So you can copy from the doc if you want, if you're not sure. I think I got it right. So I'm gonna click save. You may not see it because it has a dot as a prefix, and files prefixed with a dot are hidden by default, but you can click here on more and click on show hidden files. And now the file no Jekyll should be there, should appear. So the next step then, as we did this, we confirmed that it exists. The next step is what you already did last time, which is to build the site. So we go to build. Actually, you may not see the options that you need to build a site. And the reason for that is because we haven't clicked on this project file that tells RStudio that this is a blog. So go ahead and click on the .rproj file, click yes. That will think for a little bit, and now hopefully the build tab will have changed and will show you the option that you need to build a site, which is this one called build website. So you click there, you should see something similar to what you saw last time, which is your blog build, right? You can close it now, and you're done. You now go to the tab Git, and you can create a commit that includes your blog. So if you notice now on the root, because that's exactly what you told Distill to build your website, And now you have a bunch of more files, including this index.html, which is the root of the website. But never mind, you need to just commit everything that you see in there. And the way you can do it in many ways, but I'm going to show you how you can do it from the GitHub, from the RStudio interface. I select all files, I click one box, and all boxes will be checked. And I can say something like build site, commit, and then close. So with that, okay, I can close this little window. The next thing I can do is just push, right? And now it's going to ask for my username. In this case, it's this one. And for my password, which I have here, let's see if I can paste it. It seems that it worked. So I am on our studio session similar to yours. So if it worked for me in this session, I hope that it should work for you too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my repo on GitHub, refresh. I expect to see the repo side of the website, right? The source files of the website. So everything that I had in RStudio Cloud is now here. But now the exciting bit, it's going to live where? Well, it's going to live, remember, on an address that is called like my username.github.io. And because this website is across my entire username, I don't need to say any repository. That's the magic of having given the very specific name that I told you before. So the format is username.github.io, and now this is live. You can now go and visit it if you wanted, and my blog is hosted there. There is an about section. There is everything that your blog has. Oops. Right? It's now live and hosted on GitHub. So with this, and with just 1 minute spare, I extended basically the last DS incubator. Unfortunately, because it's kind of a complex thing, we didn't have time for you to do it with me. But I hope that you now have the tools. You know how to build a website on GitHub for a repo, because you did it with me. Last time you learned how to build a distill blog. So now you combine the two things, and you should be able to host your blog on GitHub with those tricks that are recorded here on the doc. So with that, I say almost goodbye, except that I'm gonna open the room for any 30 seconds question, or invite you to write it here on the doc.
I can just make a quick comment that if you have two-factor authentication on your GitHub account, this complicates the process a bit. Just
very right. Yeah, right. That's true. Thumbs up if you have two-factor authentication in your account. 1, 2. I see only 2 in my view. Okay, I do actually. That's why I'm using a different account to not complicate things. That means that you use SSH keys and things. I mean, it's possible. I actually use it. I use two-factor authentication, but the setup is longer. So I didn't want to show it because I assume that if you figure out two-factor authentication, you can figure out this later. But if you want to set this up and you're struggling, talk to me, because I have already done it. And setting SSH keys in RStudio Cloud might not be as straightforward as you think. But anyway, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing how you host your blogs on GitHub. Bye now.
Thanks, Mauro. Bye.
Thanks, Mauro. Bye.